Hello everyone, I'm Chocolate and CB12 is over, but I'm going to talk a little bit about this C3 timeline here with XAyayaMakoto because I think there's some really interesting parts to it. Like for example at the beginning the charm here is surprisingly lenient, so with the right gear refined, Makoto is allowed to just crit XAyayaMakoto once and she survives perfectly fine. She gets healed by Yukari and all is well. Same thing with XAyayaMakoto herself. She is actually allowed to crit Makoto once and all of them live. But that's kind of just the RNG requirement for getting through this timeline. So after all that has happened, Makoto only crit maximum of once if you're using the special refine, or she didn't crit at all with the regular R11, which I'm using here. And then you can go to the first big hurdle of the run, which is properly cancelling Hard Slash on Makoto. And that's kind of one of the things that a lot of people are going to need to learn in the future when Makoto gets her UE, because it has a buff applied to it. And that buff happens on the first frame. But if you just spam click with a good auto clicker, it means that Makoto's buff is actually cancelled along with the skill. So what you want to instead do is manually cancel it right as the skill goes off, but not in the first frame. And for that, usually you would look at Makoto's idle cycle, for example, or at the boss cycle. But in this case, we have a nice cue from SkkrYukariChrissyXAyayaMakoto, where her spear gives a good rhythm to how we can cancel Makoto's hard slash very quickly. So we're going to take a look here. And there we go. It wasn't a perfect cancel, but it was quick enough. And here we just kind of stagger the heals between Yukari heal and SkkrYukariChrissyXAyayaMakoto heal, and very normal ChrissyXAyayaMakoto after shred is decently done. This one is another case of cancelling an auto attack manually, this time on Yukari. Luckily this one isn't as tight, but personally I had some difficulty with it because Yukari's cycle is very unfamiliar with me, since I didn't really train doing these auto attack cancels. But surprisingly, if you do it for a couple hours, things will work out fine. And the next one is XAyayaMakoto here, and what you're going to notice is she wants to UB right after Makoto's Howl, since at that point her buff will be stacked twice and Howl will already have applied. And that's also the reason why we did the hard slash cancel, just to speed the heroic Howl up enough that Ayane has a chance to UB while her first buff stack is still active, and she also has the second one that just activated. So I paused here on the, I think there's 1 or 2 frames before Ayane UB, and I think this is the part where heroic Howl already has applied. So yeah, right here with XAyayaMakoto UB, this is double buffs, full shred, the earliest possible time. And second hard slash we cancel just by spamming, very easy. And due to the Yukari build I'm using here, it's also a very easy spam to cancel this one. Normally you'd have to manually cancel it with 12-2. And another part here, just the Chrissy kick, something people need to get good at. And XAyayaMakoto double buff. It was kind of late for me, but it doesn't really matter much. No, nothing really special from this point on. It's just hoping for crits against the boss and for not crits against XAyayaMakoto, because if she does crit herself, it's a sad time. And yeah, some other parts to talk about maybe is when you're playing a timeline like this, where there's failure points due to RNG, with every XAyayaMakoto UB, if she crits herself, she dies. So for me personally, I think it's really important to make sure you're very good at the timeline and that you are sure that once you go in, you can perform it at least almost every time so that nothing happens like accidentally cancelling this moonlight here, even though it's not important to do it super quickly. Like, that shouldn't happen. Or that you accidentally cancel a Chrissy kick, cancelling a XAyayaMakoto buff, for example, stuff like that. So even with simple things, it's always best to make sure that when you go in, you only fail through RNG at most and not through execution errors, because that's just kind of the worst feeling in my opinion, when a good run dies to RNG. And let's take a look at the damage report here. Looks good in my opinion. This was just a normal run to show kind of what it looks like if you do things correctly. But sadly, of course, there were no crits here. Some people crit 2 or 3 times with XAyayaMakoto, and that's big damage. So yeah, personally I'm quite happy that I got to run this at the end, even though it wasn't a clash. But I think XAyayaMakoto is a big game, and it's always great to see when her UB crits, especially on this boss. It was just amazing to see those 400k crits already. So yeah, hope some of you at least were able to run this timeline and check it out and have some fun with it. So yeah, bye bye.